The seasons of our life, a creativity practice for the ordinary time on the Christian calendar. Ordinary time is the time when our faith is daily, when we think about what faith is like in the things we do on a regular basis. So as we get into this, we welcome your comments and your questions. We would love to hear from you. Just to begin, I am Dr. K.P. McKee. I'm the founder and executive director of A Spacious Place Creativity and Spirituality Center. So let's get started. You're going to need just a few supplies for this one. First of all, you're going to want the book of Ecclesiastes in whatever translation is meaningful to you. You might want to read through a few and see. It's going to be chapter 3, verses 1 through 8, and find a translation that resonates with you. Then you're going to want some lined paper, a pencil, and an eraser. So let's get started and prepare ourselves to take in the scripture. It often helps to get your feet planted on the floor, equidistant apart so that you're comfortable in your chair, but yet you're also alert and aware. Sometimes it helps to take our eyes down a little bit, and then we're going to lower our shoulders, which is where we carry our stress, and move our breathing from up here in our chest, which is where we breathe when we're anxious, down deep to our lower abdomen. Belt buckle breathing is what we call it. Think about an infant in deep sleep. So let's just take a few breaths together. Whenever you're ready, we're going to turn our attention to the scripture. So we're going to read it the first time through, and this is a familiar passage. You're probably going to recognize it whenever you read it. In fact, it's been an inspiration for some great work across the years. You may know the Bird's rendition of this passage, and I also think Charles Dickens probably had this in mind when he wrote that great opening line in Tale of Two Cities. So, as you read it the first time through, get the overall flow of the language and its beauty, the rhythm of it. It reads like a poem. And just sit with that for a little while. When you're ready, let's do a second read through. And this time, bring to mind global and historical events that you think of in relation to each of the seasons that is mentioned. And let that be with you for a bit. It prompt you to do some writing. And if you like to do that, just take a pause and do that. We are going to post this on Facebook and on YouTube and on our own site, www.aspaciousplace.com. So if you want to go through this and pause and do that, that would work out fine for you to do it that way. One last read through. And this time, let's bring our personal story into the reading and think for ourselves what each of these seasons means in our own life. Especially note phrases that seem to be highlighted to leap out for you as you're doing this last reading. Now when you're ready to begin the practice. So what we're going to do is, and this is why we're using a pencil and eraser, because we want to give ourselves permission to make mistakes and erase them and change. So the first thing you're going to do is take your paper and you're going to write, whatever translation you use, the introduction here, for everything there is a season and a time to every matter under heaven. And then under that, you're going to write the first part of the phrase, a time to be born, and then a line, and then a time to die. And I have done one here so you can see. Give yourself plenty of space for doing the writing here. Now, as we bring our own personal experience to this story, we're going to use words, phrases, or simple sentences to respond to each of the seasons that are mentioned here. And you do not need to go in order. Maybe start out with those things that leapt out as you that you connected with right away. So I'm just going to do a couple that came to me as I was going through it, and I'm actually going to start with this first one as I'm remembering the fact that with our first child, we were told we may not be able to have children, so it was unexpected when that happened and a joyous occasion. And I remember when she looked at me the first time, how wise I thought she looked. So I'm going to call her Wise-Eyed Child. Unexpected blessing. Ah. Hi, Renee. All right. And then I'm going to skip down to here to a less happy occasion when I had to have a serious medical test done and we're low on income, and I find out at the 11th hour that our insurance isn't going to cover it. And it was not a pretty scene when that happened. So for a time to break down, I'm going to say an 11th hour medical insurance decline. And I will just tell you, these things didn't come to me right off the top of my head. Writing takes time, so you may want to just keep this with you over a few days, and the words will come to you and you'll be able to pull them together and make them tight for you. And then, let's see, I did a time to keep. I'm looking at my notes here. And I said hope for a full life. Because that is what I hope for myself right now. And then I'm going to skip to the end. Oh, one more. A time to speak, and I'm going to say when we build a wall to keep people out, because that is important to me to speak up about. And this is why an eraser is great, because you may find a way to tighten up that language and make it more poetic, and then you can just take that eraser and make it again. And then the last line is in a time for peace, and I'm going to say when I am deep in writing, because that is when I feel most fully myself. And that is how my poem ends. So I have the finished piece here. And what I would suggest to you with yours is that you, after it feels like it's come to a place of completion for you, that you find a place by yourself and read it aloud, that you can feel the words in your mouth, or if you're Gina, if you can sign them. And it reads like your life as a poem. So I am hoping that it will be a gift to you. If you found this helpful, then I hope you will like it on Facebook and go to our website and sign up for our newsletter to see what else we are doing, and join us. It's going to be 3 weeks, June the 24th. I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Jeanette Henderson about spirituality and road rage. And can that really be two things that we put together? I'm really looking forward to spending that time with her, and in fact, we may do it over two things, because at this time of year especially, we're out on the roads a lot, and thinking about how we respect ourselves and also are safe and respectful of others on the road. So let's close with prayer, and for our prayer, I'm going to read our passage. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. a time to throw away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. And in parting, let me just say that sometimes in the seasons of our life, we can take those things literally the birth of a child or our own birth, or perhaps the birth of a new idea or the beginning of a new job. So I hope that with this practice, if you're in one of the seasons that are hard, a season of mourning or of throwing away, that this practice will remind you and help you hang on till the seasons of laughter and dancing come. So we hope to see you in a few weeks on June 24th. Thank you for joining us.